Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Anyone who is watching the replay, thank you as well. So, my name is Helen V. Hicks. I am a licensed professional counselor, an author, a parent coach, and the mother of five. So, many of you who have tuned in before, you know that I am a parenting expert. And the majority of my topics, of course, are in relation to parenting. So tonight's topic is a little bit special because it's not just parenting. This is a topic that expands to any type of loving relationship you may be in. Okay. So love is a very powerful emotion and can absolutely change a lot in any individual's life. But the trick is you have to choose love in order to access that power that comes along with it. And what most often happens is people get caught up in a lot of other emotions that are going on, and love falls to the wayside. So, tonight's webinar is really in regards to me teaching you what are those things that become barriers to you choosing love and other people around you experiencing that love, and what you can do to get back on track with choosing love and making sure love is present in all the relationships in your life. Okay. So, first up are some of those barriers. And these are just what I see as the major barriers that get in the way of love being felt and experienced by others. So, there's fear, anger, revenge, which can also be like being spiteful, a desire to punish, and defensiveness. So these are the four things that get in the way of your love being felt and experienced by others. So as I move through here, if anybody has comments, questions, or whatever, please feel free to post them in the comment section. I can't always reply to you, but I will indeed see it. And if you have any questions, then I definitely will answer those questions. Okay. So, first up is fear. Now, everything else that was on that list can be seen as some sort of derivative of fear. But I want you to really understand this. Love and fear are opposing forces, and they cannot occupy the same space at the same time. You have to choose one. And anyone who can see what's on my board behind me, sorry about that. Fear demands the sacrifice of love because it cannot exist in its presence. So you are only going to be choosing one of these things. You are only either going to be showing up in a very loving way with those that you care about, or you're going to be showing up in a way that's rooted in fear. So, I want to give you a short example of what I mean. So, let's say your kid has a terrible report card. Okay. And then you approach your child in regards to this report card, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. What's going on? What's wrong with you? I thought you were good. You promised me that this was going to happen and we weren't going to be here and this, that, and the other. And you are speaking out of your own fear. You're afraid your child is going to fail. You're afraid your child won't be successful. You're afraid your child won't learn how to be independent and perhaps get stuck in your house forever. Whatever those fears may be, but you are speaking out of your own fear and not in love. And when that happens, when you speak or you behave out of fear, people only feel what comes along with fear: rejection, unappreciated, disappointed, frustrated. Those are the things that come with fear. So, no wonder after you have this discussion, your child isn't pouring his heart out to you about the struggles that he may be having in class and other things that he may need because he's already feeling beat up, even though you may have the most genuine of intent. Your intent is lost because your behavior is rooted in a fear reaction and not a love reaction. So, anger. So, in my individual work in counseling, there typically are two major sources or roots for anger. The first one is threat. If we feel threatened physically, emotionally, then we can react with anger because anger is a protective emotion. Another thing that can trigger anger is the sense of feeling owed something. So, if we go back to that example that I just gave you in regards to your child who has this horrible report card, and let's say, as the parent, you are working your butt off to get them into a private school or to live in a really good neighborhood so they can have access to good public schools. Like you are just working yourself to the bone to make sure your child is provided for in all these good ways. And then your child has a horrible report card. There's like a sense of, how dare you? Like, that's all you are expected to do. And you didn't do the one thing that you had to do while I'm over here juggling all the balls. How dare you? You feel like your child owes it to you to show up in that way and to do his part. I'm not saying your child doesn't have a responsibility in this. We'll get to that aspect later. But I want you to understand the ways in which you may be choosing something other than love and why you may be choosing that. Okay. This next one, seeking revenge, being spiteful, trying to punish someone, these are often things that are misguided attempts to gain empathy from the other person or to teach them how it feels to have that particular thing done to them. So you want this person to understand, well, that's what it feels like when, you don't call somebody back for a couple of days, or that's what it feels like when somebody yells at you. Um, so it's an attempt to get the other person to understand and to have a sense of awareness of, oh, that's what I'm doing to you when I do those things. That's what the person is genuinely trying to do. But often what happens, this just sparks a cycle of, oh, you hurt me, so I'm going to hurt you. You hurt me, so I'm going to hurt you. You hurt me, so I'm going to hurt you. And this can become very dangerous and it can become never ending to the point that you're no longer in that relationship with that person. And if these are familial relationships, then you may become very distant between each other because there's that expectation of, I can't interact with this person without me getting hurt. Okay. So, hey, Curtis, I see you're here. Thank you so much. I hope you really enjoy this webinar and everyone else who's out there watching. Um, so, again, seeking revenge, being spiteful, or trying to punish someone, these are all things that pull you away from love. The next one is defensiveness. I'm sorry, I just saw that the two S's are on the next line. My bad. But defensiveness is a self preservation reaction to a perceived attack. So I really want to highlight perceived. Just because you are feeling defensive does not automatically mean the other person involved is trying to attack you. So when you have that perception of, oh my gosh, I'm being attacked, uh, I need to do something to protect myself, to get this person to back away, whatever it is, that is not choosing love. And I get it. Like I wrote here, like this is a self-preservation reaction. So the only way to shift this is to shift your beliefs and attitudes that are contributing to you perceiving the attack. Okay. So here's where I need you to understand your emotions are only reactions to existing attitudes and beliefs. That means you're only reacting to what's already been rooted and grounded in you. And these things can be changed, but you have to have a level of awareness about them existing. And then you have to take action to do things differently. So once you understand this part of it, that you can change the way you perceive other people's behaviors, their interactions with you. Um, Something else I want to throw in here really quick, it just kind of popped into my head. How you react also reinforces the meaning of whatever behavior just took place. So, my kind of silly example of this is if you've ever watched an action movie and you have the hero who's going through and fighting all these people and he's knocking people out and kicking them up against the wall and throwing them and all this other kind of stuff. And eventually he comes up to, I shouldn't say he, it could be a she. Eventually the hero comes up to this huge person that's like 7 feet tall and extra wide and muscular and thick and everything else. Um, this they start hitting and kicking and doing everything that they were doing to everyone else who's now knocked out, and nothing happens. There is no indication from this huge person that they have any effect at all. So now I'm going to steer away from that kind of movie model, because in that scenario, the hero is determined to remain the hero. But my point is this: in life, if someone is trying to engage with you in a specific way and you're not responding in a way that reiterates, a way that validates that whatever it is that they're doing has an effect, they tend to go away. They tend to stop. I mean, this is effective for bullying. This is effective for manipulators. This is effective for a lot of negative behaviors out there. If you don't respond to their behavior in a way that sends them the message it's working, they stop. So this is a key to what I'm talking about before in regards to your perception. So if you are in a place where you are no longer perceiving someone else as attacking you, then this is also a way to get their behavior to stop. This is also a way to keep you out of the place of being defensive, because you're no longer perceiving this other person as attacking you. Okay. So hey, Baba, thank you. Glad you're here. So, this slide came out a little bit lighter and a little bit off than what it was earlier. So, my apologies for that. Let me see if this changes it. Nope, it does not. All right. So, hopefully, you get the point. When I went through this before, it did not look like this. So, my apologies. So love is in the center. And if you are acting out of love, then you are acting with compassion, patience, kindness, gratitude, accountability, and appreciation. Okay. I want to start with accountability because so many times I hear people, and especially parents, where they're not holding their children accountable for negative behavior because, oh, I'm going to give them a break. Oh, well, they turn things around. So I'm really not going to harp on the fact that they did something wrong. Thank you, Barbara. I appreciate that. um, so people often mistake an act of love to be one of not holding people accountable. That's not love. It really isn't. Because if you don't hold a person accountable, then you're missing a whole nother aspect of love, which is correction. Like if you really, 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 really love someone, you want to help them correct their behavior. And it's not about punishing them, it's about correction. So holding someone accountable for whatever it is they say, whatever it is they do, that is an act of love. It's still a question of how you do it as to whether you are choosing fear or love in how you do it. But it's still important to hold people accountable so that they can get to the place of correction. Okay. So, whenever you are formulating your response to people in your life, your response needs to be rooted in these 6 things. And I'm going to go a step further because self love is really, really important too. And you have to be able to practice this with yourself if you are going to be able to do this for other people. So when it comes to self love, I add a little bit more to this, which is part of self love is never using your words against you. So you're not going to call yourself dumb, stupid, incompetent, um, ugly, bad. You're never going to use your words against yourself. So that's an aspect of self-love I kind of throw in there additionally. Um, but when you respond, keep these 6 things in mind. Okay. So when you communicate, again, I want you to focus on what you do want or need because it's not always about wants. Sometimes you have a need, whether it's of your partner, whether it's of your children, whoever you may be engaging with, but focus on what you do want. Too many times people are quick to jump into, well, don't do this and don't do that and don't and don't and don't and don't and don't. But you've left them with no direction of where to go. So if I come back to that scenario that your child has this horrible report card, failing classes, not doing well, it looks like your child has not made much effort. I want you to focus on communicating what you do want. I want you to be successful. I want you to feel like you can do anything. I want you to feel like you can conquer the world, no matter how big or how small that task may be. I want you to feel like you can face it. I want you to feel brave and I want you to feel encouraged and I want you to feel strong. Focus on communicating what you do want and build that communication bridge between you and whoever that other person may be, that you guys are now interdependent. You're relying on each other to get to these goals, to accomplish these things. So talk about what you do want rather than telling people what not to do. Oh, I'm not sure what happened here. Oh, I know what should have been on that slide. So unfortunately on this blank slide, what should be here is listen to understand, speak to build trust. Okay, so I'm going to switch this view here a little bit. So what I mean by that is if you are talking with someone you love, it's not about listening for your opportunity to speak. And I know many of you have probably heard that. I know I've seen it on lots of people's social media posts and everything else. But really, the point in listening is to understand. Are you getting it? Do you get what your child's challenges were or still are that led up to the poor report card? Do you understand what those relationships with teachers and other students and friends were that contributed to a lack of motivation or his or her own lack of understanding? Do you understand how you got from A to B? That is the point of listening. And if you don't understand, ask questions. I am a huge advocate of ask questions. It's like, okay, so when you said this, did you mean this or did you mean that? And it's important to ask questions because we all use language differently. Just because somebody says, I'm sorry, I'll use myself in this example. I say just a minute all the time. I absolutely never mean 60 seconds. Everyone who knows me, when I say just a minute, what I really mean is when I'm done. But I never say when I'm done. I say just a minute. This is my small little example of how we all utilize language differently. So even though we may be saying the same words, we may not always be trying to convey the same meaning. So listen to understand and then speak to build trust. So I like to remind parents, people all the time, if you do not have an intention or an ability to follow through with what you said, don't say it. Because that's about building trust. If you say it, then at some point in time, the expectation is you're going to do it. And if you don't want to do it or you can't do it, don't say it. Speak to build trust. Okay. So, next one here is part of loving is allowing people to choose. It's not forcing them into the corner. It's not pushing your wants and desires onto them. It's not giving ultimatums. It's allowing people to choose. So I understand I have a wide range of listeners right now, and some of you may be religious or spiritual, and some of you may not. And I do not mean to offend anyone, but I do think this is a context in which a lot of people can relate to. If you believe in God, if you believe in any type of higher power, then something that is associated with that higher power is that higher power doesn't force any of us to do anything. That higher power grants us the ability, the permission, the will to choose. And that is an act of love. You have to be willing to choose love. You have to be willing to allow other people the opportunity to choose love. So I know a lot of people kind of go back into fear in regards to this. Oh my gosh, what if they choose wrong? What if they choose to leave me? What if they choose to fail? It's their choice. And you are responsible for coping with your own fear in healthy ways, in ways that help you to release that anxiety, to release those worries, to release those concerns. Choice is an act of love. Even when it comes to your kids, you may need to allow them to choose to fail. Because again, we come back to love is also about accountability, and it gives you an opportunity to correct. So choosing is an act of love. Lastly, this is my QR code to my parenting course. If you are interested in my online course, my online course is only $47 a month. It is a subscription plan. There is an option to buy into the 3-month plan. I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought for a minute. Sorry about that. But it's up to you if you would like to join on a monthly basis or 3 months at a time. This is a 20% off code of my already low price that is only effective until July 5th. July 5th at 11:59 p.m. That code is gone. Why is my price so low? Because I believe parenting is a right. Good parenting is a right. And no one should be relieved of that right because of money or any other hardships that may be taking place. So I have a question here. I'm going to go to the question. Accountability. Do you think people let things go, a show of love, because they do not want the other person to think they doubt them? It could be. I mean, I can't speak to all the different motivators that people may have behind the things that they say or do, but here's what I come back to. Another aspect of love is fair. I apologize, I didn't put that in on the slide, but love is fair. And if you are behaving in a way that is not fair to you, if it's not fair to everybody within that party, then it's still not an act of love. And if you're kind of answering part of the question too, like you're doing things because you think someone will doubt you, um, that's a fear. Like you're afraid something will or won't happen. So that becomes an act of fear and not an act of love. Second question is, how do you think people, all concerned, can learn to appreciate accountability and approach in a way that I have described? Um, how do I think people can learn to appreciate accountability? Okay, so I think people being able to appreciate accountability is about the way it's packaged. I think, again, people kind of use accountability as the package to wrap their anger in and to, say, I never liked you anyway, so here. And that's not fair. It's not fair to anyone at all who is involved. So I think by the way we package accountability, because I can share with you one of the things that I do with my sons, um, I'm always providing them choices, and whatever the end result may be of their choice, I come back to, but that's what you chose. It's not me throwing it in their face. It's not, well, why did you do that? You knew better. I told you you could have done better. I told you you shouldn't have done that. Like, it's none of that. It's just, but that's what you chose. So, what would you like to do now? And I present them with other options of how they can continue to choose differently if they want a different outcome. So I think accountability really is about the package that people present it in and making sure that package is embodying the aspects of love, which love is fair, compassionate, kind, patient, it's grateful, and it's appreciative. So if you are packaging your accountability in all of those things, I think it would be easy to spread that out to others. Okay. So any other questions before we wrap up? All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. I hope this was very informative to you. My website is there. My parenting course is also there. So if you'd like to check it out or reach out to me, for any other information, I am available. And I hope everyone has a wonderful evening.